All right, we are here at the Ebby Buffet, a classic, and we're gonna take the ferry over to the other side, to the Lupa Sziget, a place in Budapest that I have not yet been. Well, not really in Budapest, but close enough. Lupa Sziget, 1932. 1932. It's Punkusht. We would call it Pentecost, I suppose, in English. And we've been confronted with some of the best weather these eyes have ever seen. Oh, after a pretty dismal spring, the summer is popping off. Simply fantastic. This whole island is a tranquil oasis. Look at the lights. We shall explore the island and learn a little bit more about its fascinating history. Okay, well, I can see why they call it Platan Utsa, because they have this lovely row of platan trees. We're gonna have to come back here and do a little bit of a time lapse. Now, Lupa Sziget is famous for its Bauhaus architecture. What was Bauhaus? Bauhaus was a modernist architectural movement. It originated in Germany. We're talking in between the wars, World War I and World War II. This is kind of Bauhaus itself, but you know, we're not gonna get lost on this one here. Before we get back to the story of Bauhaus, what do we have going on over this way? Nagyon érdekes. It appears to be some sort of flood. Okay. I wonder if that's because the Duna is super high. You can see right through the trees there, the end of the Megyeri Híd. I call it the Alexa Bridge because it's got two giant A's. And it's a little bit regrettable because before this bridge was here, the Lupa Sziget was truly as peaceful as you could possibly imagine. And now, of course, you have the noise pollution, which is why this end of the island, which used to be the more expensive end, is now a little bit cheaper real estate wise. Hello! Egészségedre! Egészségedre! Ah, you gotta love it. The summertime is amongst us. What a nice touch. A gyerekinta. Csak kis gyermekeknek. Szülei. Felügyeletel. Here we can see a prototypical example of Hungarian Bauhaus. This one was designed, as many of the houses on the island were, by Lajos Kozma Lajos. He was sort of King Cosma of the Bauhaus movement in Hungary. Bauhaus, it began in Germany in the interwar period. We're talking 1919 to 1933. Probably the preeminent man in all of Bauhaus was Walter Gropius. And Bauhaus, it focused on a radical departure from the old way of doing things. The Baroque, neoclassical, over-the-top styles of the pre-war period, they were torn asunder by the bloodshed and death that occurred during the First World War. And the liberals of Germany were looking for a new way to express themselves. And they settled on Bauhaus. What was Bauhaus exactly? Well, as we said, it was a departure from the old way of doing things. It was a radical reimagining of form and function and style. A huge focus on squares and rectangles and spheres. And that is why on this island, on the Lupa Sziget, we can see this very sleek, futuristic, modern approach. And you can see here, even with some of the newer builds, they are required to maintain these stilts, these square tops, rectangular sides. Oh, look at that. That's gonna be a nice house. They say that the building costs here are 2 to 3 times more expensive than on the mainland because, of course, you gotta ship all the materials over the Dona. A Dona. Szöves-vegyi ipari kutató intézet üdülője. They got a slide coming down here from the treehouse. Wow, lucky kids. Whoever parents those are, I gotta say, lucky kids. So back to the story of the Lupa Sziget in particular. It's obviously flooded with Bauhaus. And in 1932, this island was parceled out, piece by piece by piece by piece, to become the holiday paradise resort that we see here today. All right, we will continue our tour down at the other side of the island, but first, let's get a little tipple at the Shani Bachi Buffet, 1993. We got here the signature red and white kotskak. Luxus. Bauhaus. All right, well, we are going to wander around. Oh, day moon, and just have a little bit of a Bauhaus festival. So Kozma Lajos, he had fairly inauspicious beginnings. He was born on the Puszta in Somogy megye. That's Kopan country for you all in the audience. And you would never think that a guy born on the Puszta in Somogy megye would become one day the preeminent man in Hungarian Bauhaus modernism. But alas, he did. Although born in 1884, when he got his start, Bauhaus wasn't really a thing. He was more into secession, Art Nouveau. Imadom. And then after Art Nouveau secession, Kozma Lajos, he began to incorporate a lot of different architectural elements into his furniture making. That was what he was first known for, was furniture. And his furniture was this very unique style. It combined, as we said, the Art Nouveau, some classical notes, a little Baroque, and they even called it Kozma Baroque. So unique. And Hungary at this time, interwar Hungary, was a very fascinating period of history. Incredibly fascinating. I mean, you had just had World War I, which was probably, without a doubt, more devastating for Hungary than for any other nation. Perhaps Austria, if you want to combine the Habsburgs into one group. But you need to know, the Treaty of Trianon, which was part of the Paris Peace Conference and the larger Treaty of Versailles, it took 70% of Hungarian lands. Trianon today is still known as the national apocalypse. And these interwar years in Hungary were a time of turmoil. Of course, you had in 1919 Béla Kun and the first communist revolution. But that frizzled out and was replaced by Admiral Horthy and his white horse and this sort of pseudo monarchy that was desperate, absolutely desperate, for an irredentist reclamation of the territory that was lost. Jennyörű.
Igen.
Hol laktok?
Pesten.
Budapest.
Milyen kerületen?
Én 15.
14.
14-15.
14?
Zugló.
Now back to Kozma Lajos. After his dabbles in the world of furniture, he turned in the 1930s increasingly to architecture. And that is where he turned from the Baroque to the Bauhaus. These houses here, not really Bauhaus. More like Slovak Felvideki stílus. There you go. Ping pong table underneath. And Kozma Lajos, when this island was named after this dude, Lupa Peter. Lupa Peter, he was a landowner in Pomaz, and they called it the Lupa Sziget. Now the thing is, back in the day, before the regulation of the Danube, which happened during the Reform era, we're talking early 19th century, Széchenyi István, and all of the advancements in technology and engineering that came to Hungary, there were many islands littered around this area, but they were flooded over, and this one came into its current shape, the Lupa Sziget. And there were some people that hung around here for sure, but it was 1932 that the island became a holidaymaker's haven. And that is when Kozma Lajos came into the picture. I mean, the fact that we are still in touching distance of the capital is totally shocking. Bauhaus up the wazoo. You know, the romantic in me is just a little bit heartsick that the bridge is so close by over there. But what can you do? Modernity, huh? Modernity, modernity, modernity. You really feel for the people though that bought houses over here and now have the noise pollution to deal with. But this guy doesn't seem to mind. Here we can see Bauhaus, Bauhaus, Bauhaus. It's a very interesting architectural movement. I mean, one of the most fascinating things about Bauhaus is that when you see it, you think 20 years later, you think 1950s, you think modernism, 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 but this was like the pre-modernism, that little sliver of time between the wars. Oh, it was a very depressive time in a way, but also strangely optimistic before the absolute devastation of World War II. But of course, World War II did come. And the forms and the styles that were created during the Bauhaus times were carried over in a whole new sort of sense. Oh, Nagyon érdekes. Bauhaus, Bauhaus, Bauhaus. And I believe as we come to the bridge, Michinas. I believe that this here is the Kozmalayos has. Sharkozy Nicholas. Bauhaus. Say it one more time. Bauhaus. Say it one more time. Bauhaus. Let me tell you, those Bauhaus folk, they really knew how to make a porch. Oh, yes. This is just what we need. It's just what we needed. Nice walk outdoors. I can't tell you how nice it is. I can't tell you how nice it is. Is this a peach pong? That's what I don't know. I know that the white ones are peach pong, peach pong, peach pong. But are the yellows peach pong, peach pong, peach pong as well? Wow, look at this. We have some people returning to their Bauhaus home. Truly a rare sight. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect timing. Couldn't have hoped for better timing. Oh. Unicornish? All right, our last moments of the day here. We've got an Ebin Hal Buffet Rate-Dash review. That was nearly a disaster. But it is amazing. Jolsmon Kielens.